Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Michael's Record Collection, where we talk about great music with the people who make it and the people who love it. Very honored to be joined by Mariusz Duda. You know him from Riverside and Lunatic Soul. We're going to talk a little bit of Lunatic Soul today. Mariusz, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, everybody.
We've got a new album coming out October 31st, Lunatic Soul on Inside Out Music, called The World Under Unsun. This is the eighth studio album for Lunatic Soul, which is your solo banner. You record your solo stuff under Lunatic Soul, and the first one since 2020's Through Shaded Woods. Um, Tell me a little bit about before we start. I want to ask you what I always ask my guests. What was your first favorite record?
My very first record, I think that was Vangelis Things. That was the album. I didn't know that this is the best of Vangelis. And I said, wow, this record is great. And then I just realized that this is the best of. So I started to collect all his discography. So Vangelis, that was my very first artist that I was truly into his arts.
Okay, that's a pretty hefty lift. How old were you when you discovered them?
I don't know, 12, 13. I it was not something like at my home, everyone was listening to music, and so the music was on the radio, on the television,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew separate songs. But my very first album, that was the collection of this. But then I think that was also, what was that? China, English China, probably. And because I started to collect all these albums, so and from Vangelis, I started to listen to music from the beginning to the end. It stayed till today.
So when you were young, when did you know you wanted to learn to play music, learn to write songs, and that kind of thing?
When I was young.
Yeah.
No, it was funny because I my very first instrument was piano, keyboards, and when I realized that I'm cassette player kind of person. I grew up on music, not a vinyl one, tape cassettes.
Mhm.
And when I had the opportunity to record my own electronic music, then I was listening to a lot of electronic music. And after that, inspired by all these artists like Tangerine Dream, uh, Vangelis, Jean-Michel Jarre, I decided to create my own music on the tape cassettes. I had this mono stuff that was called Grundig. I was buying cassettes in the Polish shop, the only one that had cassettes, because I grew up in a small town in the north side of Poland. 15,000 people lives here. So I'm not from Warsaw originally. I moved to Warsaw when I was 25. And we had only, one or two shops in the small place with music, mostly with cassettes. So I was recording this by myself. I drew all these covers by myself and collected this. So listening was connecting with recording. Of course, you don't want to listen to that, believe me. But these things were great experience for me in terms of, starting something, doing by myself. When I discovered sequencer and I knew that I can do multiple layers, that was the beginning for me, and it stayed because I always think about my music in that way. I'm not like a bass player in the band. No, I control everything. Sequencer
Mhm.
is are people that I work with, if I can say that. But that was the thing that I always wanted to create the stories. I wanted to create the entire albums already, not like separate songs, or I didn't even want it to play for fun on the instrument. I used the instrument already to create the album. I had that from the childhood already.
How old were you when you wrote your first song?
I guess I was like 13, 14 when I started to do these things.
Mhm.
Something that I'm really proud of, it was, I think the song was called Existence. And on the cover of this on the cover of this single was a lonely tree. So imagine I was messed up yeah, since I was 15. A melancholical, introvertical kind of vibe. I still remember the melody, but there was no lyrics yet. My very first song with the lyrics, if you ask me for that, well, that was probably my very first band, Xanadu, but I don't remember exactly. I did a lot. I don't have like my very first song. I don't remember that.
Have you ever, have you always, I should say, written your songs, your lyrics in English always, or did you start in Polish?
No, no, no. Always in English. That was my very that was, I'm practicing learning English for so many years, and writing lyrics help me with that. Thanks to that, I can learn new words. I can some phrasal verbs and stuff. So thinking about it. Well, this is the thing that I because I grew up on instrumental music. The vocal for me was like another instrument. Even on the very first Lunatic Soul albums, on the first Riverside albums, there are moments when I was singing without lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I always do on each demo, tape, cassette. What I do, I'm always start singing without lyrics. I call it Norwegian language, which is far from Norwegian, but this is what I do. And then I've got the worst part of creating the album, writing lyrics to already existed melodic lines, and I'm struggling with vowels. If I'm singing something like "wanna fall with try," so I cannot write "wanna see the night." So that's problematic. But I always make it.
I would say so. I would say you do.
Thank you.
Riverside is, you come out with Riverside. It's a heavier band, and then a few years later, you come out the first Lunatic Soul album, and it's more of a blend of this ambient style with some electronic music, some folk and rock influences. Where does your love for this style come from? Does it go all the way back to the Vangelis beginnings?
I think I blame Mike Oldfield for that because Mike Oldfield was one of the artists that made a crossover for my rock influences. He also did lots of instrumental music because
Mm-hmm.
I started with instrumental music. I really loved that, you know, experiencing music with, I don't know, just headphones and eyes closed and using your imagination. I was searching for that kind of artist. And Mike Oldfield had these folky kind of vibes that I truly loved. But he was the first one. After that, I was the Clannad, Irish band,
Mm-hmm.
mostly because of the series in the television with Robin Sherwood, Robin from Sherwood, Robin Sherwood. I don't remember.
Yeah,
Robin Hood, anyway.
Robin Hood. Yeah.
Yeah, but the title is Robin from Sherwood, something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And the Clannad was there. I fell in love with Irish folk, and Dead Can Dance. That was another band, another duo that also showed me that there's a music from another dimension, more mystical than rock.
Mm-hmm.
And these bands were really influenced me as well. I played that kind of music. I grew up in a place when there was full of trees and lakes, so probably subconsciously I was really into the music of roots. However, I always found world music kind of cliche. I didn't like, you know, uh, every world music,
Mm-hmm.
but those melancholic ones were really close to my heart.
Gotcha. The um the question I had for you, listening to your music over the years, is when you're writing music, do you have writing sessions where you specifically write for Riverside or Lunatic Soul, or do you just write whatever comes out at that time and then figure out where it goes?
I tried to deliver every year an album. And there's something like when we have the year of Riverside, then I try to combine all my ideas, and it doesn't matter. I'm searching the ideas specifically for this particular album.
Mm-hmm.
So this is on the table right now. So I'm just trying to focus on that. There are moments when I compose the music, it's just it belongs more to Lunatic Soul. But these are like scratches on my iPhone. It's just like some fragments, bits of and pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I collect those bits and pieces, and then when I have the proper amount, I am developing this in the rehearsal room, in the studio, at home. It depends. And when it's done, and I said, okay, now it's time for Lunatic Soul, I'm starting with the blank page and the clean table and doing the things like this. So it's not like I'm composing all the time, everything, and then, okay, this fits more for Riverside, this fits more for Lunatic. So no, I create the albums. This is just like, I always love to compare it to the work of director, of the movie. If you start the movie, you don't do scenes for, I don't know, several movies at the same time. Mm-hmm. And then you pick, this one will be for Star Wars, this one will be for Jaws, and this one will be for Schindler's List. No, it's just create one movie and you focus on that. And this is what I do.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what is your songwriting process specifically, or does it vary? Do you have different ways you write? Does a melody come to you? Does a thought with lyrics come to you? Lyrics seem like they might come last for you.
Exactly. However, the titles and thoughts about something are just like a sparks that I make a notes, and they're waiting, or there may be even some kind of inspirations. But usually I am starting from, I never do something like that. Okay, now I will compose the song. I will sit in front of my computer and let's see what happens. No, I'm too lazy for that. What I do, I'm collecting butterflies. I'm just collecting butterflies. It's just the fact that I'm just, I don't know, sitting or seeing something. And then suddenly I have put something in my head. So I'm using my phone, or previously I had like 3 dictaphones with me in case one is broken. And then I'm just recording that. And sometimes it's just like I'm humming to the microphone, or singing, or just taking acoustic guitar or something that I have next to me and trying to record some patterns, some hooks, ideas. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And that's it. And then I create something like the folder with different kind of ideas. And they are just growing up in my head. Sometimes I connect 2 of them or 3 of them, and then I record this again. Sometimes I sit on the bed and just take the acoustic guitar and play everything from the beginning to the end. I remember there's a song Untamed by Lunatic Soul. I was composing that in my head for like a month, I was humming this in my head all the time. And so I started to sing it. And then in the middle, I just realized, no, it's too much. Maybe I should get rid of 1 bar. And then I would do only 3. And so I was singing. And when it was ready, then I just took the acoustic guitar and played this. It was funny, actually. So from bits and pieces, from sparks, from butterflies, I create something that is the song. And from that, I go further and create the whole entire albums. And it's usually like, it's a funny thing, because I have these ideas, and then I'm setting up the time in the studio. I've got the studio 5-10 minutes on foot from my home. My friends are taking care of the studio, Magda and Robert. It's in Warsaw, really close by. And then I set the dates, like with them. Okay, guys, let's do 2 weeks in February, 2 weeks in March, 1 week in April, and 2 weeks in May. And this is the time when I have to create the album. Cool. And I'm coming the first day, we're just talking, blabbling, nothing happens. On the second day, I'm listening to my ideas, and then we're starting to record from scratch to something more. and it develops. And when I have more, then I know, okay, this is for the beginning of the album, this is for the end. These two will be somewhere in the middle. Now I need to fill the gaps. 4 months, 5 months later, the album is ready. And then there's the process of creating the proper, I mean, more advanced thing, you know, like from demo to, I will record some tracks. However, like 50% stays from the demo because that was natural. And yeah, something like that. And this is the process that I love. But when I have to go on tour and I cannot do that, well, that's a hard stuff. Mm-hmm. That is why recently we took a break with Riverside, because I really wanted to focus on what I love the most these days, which is being in the studio.
One thing I love about both your work in Riverside and your work in Lunatic Soul is there's so much room in this music to breathe. There's nothing. It's not overly busy. You put in I think you take a lot of care in letting all of the instruments have their space, and you know there's that old adage, it's not what you play, it's also what you don't play. How important, or is that important when you're creating a song, that you leave that space in there, or is that just a byproduct of your songwriting?
I'm happy that we started this conversation with my roots, because the answer is there. You know, eyes closed, imagination. And the thing is that all these ideas that I have on my phone, when I am just scrolling down them, there are some ideas that they are for like many years there, and they didn't have the time, because for me it was like too shallow maybe, or not too deep enough, and not too layered enough. I always try to use something that I like, even if I heard it multiple times. So that means it's good. But I know that with that kind of ideas, sometimes you need to spend more time with the music. So it's not like catchy from the very beginning. It's just you need to soak with that. And with after the third, fourth listen, it's just like, oh, wow, okay, I got it. Okay, oh, now I get it. That's the compliment for me with that kind of album. So for that, you need these layered systems sometimes. The melody is, of course, the very important, the hooks at the beginning, but something in the background should be also important. It's just like the music in 3D, just like being on IMAX, you know. I also try to experiment sometimes in a different way, like to not work as much on that. Try to do something without thinking that much. That is why I experimented with electronic music in the lockdown. I decided to, okay, let's record something that would be more like my stream of thoughts without thinking. Whatever I do, very quickly, very fast, let's record that and release that immediately. You know, do not change anything. Mm-hmm. Now I think, okay, I should spend at least 2 weeks more time to make them, I don't sound better. But I like this process, you know. Yeah. Of course, doing Last Riverside Identity, that was also something different. When I said that lyrics would be direct without these layers, and the music should be direct. It should be like the playing live show or something. And I know that lots of people said like, I preferred when your music is much more three-dimensional, when I can uncover lots of layers with every listening. But here, after 2 listening, I know everything. So yeah, but I, you know, this working kind of process in the studio, it's amazing. I love it. I love to hide some stuff. I love Easter eggs. I guess it's really Pink Floydish, right, from the very beginning. People always just compare this to that kind of band, that they spend lots of time in the studio experimenting. So this is what I do as well. But I never wanted to create something like experiments would be over the actual melodies and the content, you know. Mm-hmm. I did that in my electronic world maybe a few times, but I think the melodies and the rhythm, but the something that is much more specific, it's the most important in my music now. And it always should be the most important thing. The arrangements are like on the second place, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But those two, of course, are connected to each other always.
Sure. The world under Unsun. I was curious because I was doing a little research. I came across a Polish gothic metal band by the name Unsun, and they had started out as their name was originally Unseen. And I know there's a lyric in this album where you use the word unseen. I didn't know if there was an intentional connection there or not.
That's funny. I'm really happy that you asked this question because it's time to say that out loud. That my very first idea for the name of the project, of the solo project, was Unsun. I just saw this name on the vinyl, it's just in turn all the time, and this name is the same if you do this inside out. I mean, like, anyway, the thing is that I had this name, and maybe I said something out loud to someone. Maybe I said this to the drummer that I was working with, or maybe I said that to the label. But when I said to to the drummer, like, okay, so this project that I'm working on will have the name Unsun, and the drummer said, you cannot name it because there is already Unsun, and this is the band that I play in. I said, what? Yeah, we just signed a contract with the label, and we already, everything is ready, like the artwork and stuff. And said, what? Yeah, sorry, you said that you are not you're thinking about it. Yeah, but I didn't decide. But doesn't mean, like, what happened? What's going on? And I don't know what happened. There is a story that two people at the same time just came up with the same band name. I remember the guitar player called me and said, listen, man, I'm sorry. I know that Pavzhinets, the drummer, told me that you wanted to record that. Name this band that way, but everything is already in the manufacturing process. We cannot just stop. And I said, oh, okay. So I need to change the name. And I changed it for Lunatic Soul. That was really funny. So my drummer, my friend, a very close friend, he released the same year the two albums. One was Lunatic Soul, and the second one was Unsun. That is why that's some kind of Easter egg that I wanted to put it. Just like, okay, this is the final chapter of the story. Let's bring back to the beginning. It should be Unsun. Maybe someone will ask me why Unsun. Yeah. So you asked me that, why I answered you.
Well, that's great.
Yeah,
that's quite a coincidence. And then all this time, you just like the word because it if you flip it over, it reads the same way.
Yeah. Flipping over. This is the word that I missed.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's great.
However, I don't know, someone or stole it to me, or it was just like the coincidence. However, it's a funny story, and I believe that Lunatic Soul sounds much better than Unsun anyway.
I think you've done all right for yourself. So you posted on the Lunatic Soul website that you intentionally set out to do a double album this time. You wanted to tell a story in two 45-minute parts. Why a double album? Why was that important to you? Or why did you want to, was it just the challenge?
That's something that's something that every artist should have in the discography, mm-hmm. Every serious artist. That was great. I have a few double albums, like The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, The Wall, Poland by Tangerine Dream, Mike Oldfield, Incantations. However, it's not his great album. I mean, it's okay, but not as good as the previous ones. So that was something, I really wanted to finally release that and record that. I did Eye of the Soundscape with Riverside, but that was not the material 100% new, right? It was just more like a collection. But double album, brand new songs, wow. That was a challenge. So I really wanted to do that. And the funny thing is that when I said to my friends, okay, I'm releasing the double album, and everyone, wow, so how many vinyls it will be? How many records? 4? I said, why? Because it's a double album. I said, two, it's a double album. How is it possible? Everyone just releasing two albums these days. Yeah, but it will be like 22 minutes on each side, not like 15. Come on. So, oh, this way, yeah. It's a classic double album, 90 minutes, 45 minutes on each part. That's it, you know.
Yeah.
And look what happened with everything, you know, the vinyl stuff now. They're just people releasing, the album is like, I don't know, 50 minutes, and they're just releasing double albums, you know, to have better quality, like 13 minutes on each side. Come on, who wants to change the side after 13 minutes, you know? I know that the sound on the, I don't know, when you are audiophile and you have like 22 or 23 minutes on each side, I know these last songs sound a bit worse than the songs at the very beginning. Someone told me that Peter Gabriel, that's why, changed the In Your Eyes. It should be the final one, but it wasn't because of the bass sound, whatever, I don't know. But come on, who cares? If you want to have the good volume, so listen from streaming, whatever. So yeah, I did like 22, 23, and I'm satisfied now.
There you go. What tell me about the story. What is the story of The World Under Unsun?
It's connected with the plot. It's connected with the story on the album. It reflects the mental state of the main hero. His world is really dark because it's his mental state. He doesn't see the sun. He sees the sun. It's like Unsun, you know. Everything is really dark, and he wants to get out from this place. That's the whole concept. That's the whole story. It's connected with the plot, the whole journey of the main hero. Maybe I didn't mention that, but all Lunatic Soul albums are connected to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So these albums are, it's called The Circle of Life and Death. You can find three albums on the side of life, 3 albums on the side of death, and there are 2 additional albums, like a bonus ones. On the side of life, we've got Fractured, The World Under Unsun, and Walking the Flashlight Beam. On the side of death, we've got Lunatic Soul 1, 2, and Through Shaded Woods. And the difference is also on the covers. On the side of life, the symbol LS is shattered, broken, fractured. On the side of death, the symbol is rounded like a snake. Why on the side of life, the symbol is shattered, fractured? Because life is much more complicated than death. And that's the whole journey. And this main character dies, revives, dies, revives. Mostly he revives with his memories, because he's an artist. He creates music, or I don't know, paint something, and he doesn't want to lose it. He wants to remember what he's done, what he did, and the thing is that unfortunately he dies on the album Walking the Flashlight Beam. Just he's jumping from the cliff. This is what you can see on the video for the prophecy. And while he's keeping his memories, he also remembers how he ends up at the end, you know, how his life ends up. And he always afraid that maybe this time will be the same. And it's the same. So he's just in the circle, and one day he decides to finally break it, because on the side of life, he sees that the sun doesn't look like the sun anymore. It's really dark. So probably it's about time to change something in this loop. And the whole story also reflects, you know, abandoning, I don't know, toxic relationship or something, when people for many, many years are stuck in a place that they don't want to be, but they have to be because, I don't know, it's connected with someone or something.
Mm-hmm.
So for many, many years, the relationship it's more connected with Stockholm syndrome than actual relationship. So the whole concept and the whole album is also about leaving this place, this world. It's not only about the fact that the sun doesn't look like the sun anymore, but also that you don't feel happy, and it would be nice if you feel happy. But at the end, it's a tricky part when you already made up your decision that you want to leave this place. You regret some stuff, and you don't even know how to say that out loud. And that's the lyric about saying goodbye. You don't know how to say goodbye if you already made up your decision. That's the thing. But it's also, the new end is also connected with the very first, because this is the last, let's say, the last song on the last Lunatic Soul album in this history, in this story. So I really wanted to make it connected to the very first track on the very first Lunatic Soul album. The title was The New Beginning. So we have the new beginning, the new end. And this is another thing that I do always, creating the concepts. Riverside has the same, like after, before, lost, found, the day after, the night before. Now we have the new beginning and the new end.
There you go. Do you have a favorite song on this album? One that really you're particularly proud of, or that you like more, maybe more than the others?
I like ballads. And we got like 4 of them. And I like 4 of them. Okay. So, yeah. But I think that's, yeah. I like the melodies there. And I really like I think it's really powerful. I mean, the song, the Self in Distorted Glass, because this song also answers the question, very important question, why someone was for so long in that toxic relationship. Why? And there's an answer, because sometimes if you don't accept yourself, unfortunately, you feel bad about yourself, you allow someone else to control you. And that's a very important lyric. And I hope it will maybe inspire someone to do something with the life.
One thing that you said earlier in this interview about growing up where there was a lot of trees and lakes and things like that, it struck me that when I was listening to this album earlier today, preparing for this interview, there was a pastoral quality to some of these songs that I felt like, and I like wrote that down in my notes, that's something that I wouldn't necessarily expect. It's something you kind of think of when you think of like old Genesis albums with the 12-string guitar, but in this case, I think that you do tap into some of that folk pastoral quality.
I believe that this new album is something like the best of Lunatic Soul. I wanted to put everything that Lunatic Soul was famous of. And when I take a look at all these genres, it's like progressive rock, it's folk music, oriental music, electronic music, ambient music. On this new one, there are some fragments that they sound like they could be even on the previous album, Through Shaded Woods. But this time it's more darker and more distorted. But yeah, that's the part of the style of this project, which I found problematic these days. At the very beginning, I thought that if I create something that it's genreless, it would be great in terms of artistic freedom. And I still believe that, and I want to create that. I want to create this music for people who believes the same way. And I listen to the music, boundaryless. But I know it's very problematic for some people who prefers something more specific, in terms of labels and algorithms, unfortunately.
record
These are
companies
stupid.
record companies like
Yeah.
you to put you in a box.
Yeah. Even the fact that I'm just releasing Lunatic Soul on Inside Out uh, will be a bit confusion for something confusing, but it's like, okay, so what do we have? Dream Theater. What do we have here? Leprous, Haken, Lunatic Soul. Where are the guitars? What's going on here? What is
Mhm.
that? Why it's so vanilla? Come on. So, but come on, that's the beauty of art, right? And the freedom.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as somebody who has this background of wanting to just put the music on and close your eyes and get lost in it, what is the experience you want your listeners for this album to take away after they listen to it start to finish?
I don't know. It depends on individual approach. For me, music is autotherapical. It's just like auto therapy. When I create music, it's a part of my auto therapy. When I listen to the music, also I pick specific music for that kind of ritual, my inner ritual, and it depends on how anyone feels. I First and foremost, what I want to emphasize, I created the album for people who can find time to listen to music. It's 90 minutes, so someone can says to me, "Wow, these days when people don't have time, you release something like that." Yeah, because I don't release that for everybody. It's just like for people who have time to listen to music. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. Plus, I released also, a few years back, very short albums. The previous Lunatic Soul was like 39 minutes long. So come on, you know. And so yeah, I I have a feeling that would be great if someone, after listening to the new Lunatic Soul, will simply feel better. Like after watching a really really good movie or reading a really really good book.
I think that's a good aim, and I think you're going to find a lot of your listeners have that. The World Under Unsun is the album that comes out October 31st on Inside Out Music. You can find out more at lunaticsoul.com. You can follow Mariusz on Twitter. I know that you recently posted about going to the Polish seaside for birthday celebration, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I've
That's that's something that I wanted to add. When I started Lunatic Soul, I was 33, and now when the last chapter is showing up, I turn 50. I guess subconsciously, there's also something connected with the storyline, or the story of my being on this platform called Life, Earth, whatever. So yeah, funny. But I'm really happy that at this age I achieved this trophy, like with that my very first double album.
Yeah, it was a nice accomplishment. Mariusz, I thank you so much for talking to me about this album and about your career and your background in music. I hope it does really well for you, and thanks again for your time and best of luck with it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.